The file had her name on it. Mata Reyes. For a moment, she could not breathe. This was not supposed to be here. Her grandmother had been buried that morning. The house was supposed to be empty. The room was supposed to stay hidden. And the archive was never supposed to open. But there it was, a file waiting on the first table. Not buried under dust. Not hidden in a shelf. Placed there, as if someone knew she would come. As if the house had been waiting for her all along. Mara Reyes grew up hearing the stories most children in the Philippines knew by heart. The aswang outside the window. The tiyanak crying in the rain. The tikbalang waiting on roads that refused to end. To Mara, they were childhood stories. The kind whispered by elders during brownouts. The kind told beside candles when the wind outside sounded too much like a voice. But Lola Ising always said something different. She told Mara, the old stories were not made to scare children. They were made to keep them alive. Back then, Mara did not understand. She thought her Lola was just superstitious. But years later, inside that house in Laguna, Mara would learn the truth. The old stories were not stories. They were records. Lola Ising died on a rainy morning. By the time the funeral ended, the sky over Laguna had turned gray. Mara returned to her grandmother's house before nightfall. She had not stepped inside that house in years. Not because she forgot it, but because Lola had made sure she stayed away. The house looked exactly as Mara remembered. Old wood, Kappa's windows, rusted iron gate, an overgrown garden that moved too much in the rain. But something felt different now. Not abandoned, awake. The neighbors stood outside the gate, whispering among themselves. No one stepped inside. At first, Mara thought they were being respectful. Then she saw the fear on their faces. They were not waiting for her. They were watching the house. One old woman stepped closer. She looked at Mara like she wanted to say more, but was afraid the house might hear her. Then she crossed herself and whispered, "Do not open the room in the back." Mara almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because grief makes impossible things sound even more impossible. Her grandmother was gone. The house was empty, and Mara had come only to collect what was left behind. At least, that was what she believed. Inside, the house smelled like candle wax, old wood, and dried sampaguita. Every step made the floorboards answer beneath her feet. The hallway was lined with family photographs. Some faces Mara knew, some she did not, and some had their eyes scratched out. She stopped in front of one frame. The glass was dusty. The photo was old, but the scratches across the eyes looked fresh. Mara wanted to leave. For 1 second, she almost did. But grief has a strange way of pulling people forward. And Mara had spent too many years wondering why Lola Ising had pushed her away. So instead of turning back, she kept walking. At the end of the hallway stood a tall wooden cabinet, dark, heavy, carved with flowers that looked almost like closed eyes. Red thread had been wrapped around the handles again and again. A faded prayer card was tucked near the lock. At first, Mara thought it was superstition, something her Lola had done in her final years. Then she saw the photograph. It showed Lola Ising as a younger woman, standing beside the same cabinet. The same red thread. The same prayer card. The same fear in her eyes. That was when Mara understood one thing. Whatever was inside the cabinet had been there for a long time. That night, Mara tried to sleep in Lola Ising's old room, but the house would not stay quiet. The walls creaked, the wind pushed against the windows, and somewhere deep inside the wood, something shifted like it was breathing. Mara opened her eyes. The clock beside the bed had stopped, so had the clock on the wall. She stepped into the hallway. Every clock in the house was still. Old clocks, broken clocks, clocks that had not worked in years. All of them pointed to the same time, 3:13 a.m. Then something rang. Not a phone, not an alarm, a bell, and the sound came from the locked cabinet. Then she heard a voice, soft, familiar, impossible.
Anak, Wug.
Her grandmother's voice. But Lola Ising had been buried that morning. At first, Mara thought the warning meant, do not open the cabinet. Do not touch what is inside. Do not go any farther. But Lola's warning was deeper than that. Lola knew the archive. She knew it did not choose keepers gently. She knew it waited for people who could hear what others could not. And Mara had been hearing things since she was a child. So when Lola whispered,
Anak. Wug.
she was not saying Mara was unworthy. She was saying, do not answer it. Do not let it claim you. Do not become what I became. That was why Lola had kept Mara away from the house. Not because she did not love her, but because she loved her too much. The cabinet door opened by itself. Inside was a brass bell wrapped in red thread. Mara knew she should step back. Every instinct in her body told her not to touch it. But something about the bell felt familiar. Not safe. Familiar. Like it had known her before she knew it existed. The moment her fingers touched the metal, every candle in the hallway went out. The silence that followed did not feel empty. It felt alive. Then the red thread began to loosen. One strand at a time. Hidden beneath it was a small key and a folded note. The note was written in Lola Ising's handwriting. It said, if the bell wakes, do not open the archive. Mara read the line again. The archive. She had never heard Lola use that word before. Then something knocked from behind the cabinet. Not from inside the cabinet, from behind it. The wooden frame shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the cabinet shifted just enough for Mara to see the wall behind it. There was a lock. Small, dark, almost invisible beneath the dust. The key in Mara's hand began to warm. That was when she understood. The cabinet had never been a hiding place. It was a seal, and if the lock had revealed itself, then the seal had already failed. With shaking hands, Mara turned the key. Something inside the wall released. A narrow door opened where no door had been. Cold air spilled out. It smelled like old paper, candle smoke, and earth after rain. Mara stepped inside. The hidden room was larger than it should have been. Shelves climbed from floor to ceiling. Some held case files tied with red string. Laguna, copies, Sikihor, Baguio Samar, Cavite, NTK. Every folder had notes, photos, witness reports, warnings. The old stories were not stories. They were case files. Years later, if someone asked why Lola Ising did not bury the bell, or burn it, or throw it into the lake, they would be asking the wrong question. The bell was not an ordinary object. Every cursed object in Lola's archive had rules. Some had to be buried, some had to be burned, some had to be blessed, some had to be watched, and some had to be kept close, because moving them only made them stronger. The bell was one of those. It was not hidden badly. It was contained, wrapped in red thread, locked inside a sealed cabinet, surrounded by prayer cards, wax, dried leaves, and warnings. Lola did not fail because the bell woke. The bell woke because Lola died, and the house no longer had its keeper. Then Mara saw the first table. Unlike the shelves, it had been cleared. Only one file sat on top of it. The label was clean, as if someone had placed it there recently. Mara Reyes. Mara opened the file. Inside was a letter written in Lola Ising's handwriting. It began, Hanak, if you are reading this, then I am gone. Mara's hands started to shake. The next line hurt more. I did not keep the archive to give it to you. I kept it so it would never reach you. For years, Mara thought Lola had pushed her away, but now she understood. Lola Ising did not abandon her. She was trying to save her. The archive grew quiet. Then the shelves around Mara began to creak. Candle flames bent toward her. Papers shifted without wind. The room felt less like a place, and more like something watching. The file on the table opened by itself. A blank page waited inside. Then black ink spread across it. Slowly, deliberately, like the archive was writing with a hand Mara could not see. Two words appeared. Keeper Accepted. Mara stepped back. No, she whispered. Because Lola did not choose Mara, the archive did. Mara wanted to leave. She wanted to run out of the house, lock the gate behind her, and pretend none of it had happened. For one moment, she almost did. Then another bell rang, not the one in her hand. Somewhere deeper in the archive, a drawer opened by itself. A file slid forward. Its cover was blank. Then a photograph appeared on the first page. A young woman, alive, afraid, standing in a room Mara had never seen before. Below the photo, black ink began to write, "If unanswered, death follows." Mara stopped breathing. Now she understood the cruelest part of being chosen. The archive did not only show stories from the past, it showed warnings. And if Mara ignored them, someone innocent would pay the price. She could leave the house, but she could not leave what the archive had shown her. Mara did not accept the role because she wanted power. She did not accept it because she was fearless. She accepted the burden because now she knew what Lola had carried alone. Every file was not just a story. It was a warning. Every warning was a life that might still be saved. And every case ignored could become another death the archive had already seen coming. So Mara stayed. Not because the archive owned her, but because someone out there needed her to answer. Case file 001 was complete. The bell that rang at 3:13 had opened the archive. But before dawn, another file was already calling. Some doors should stay closed. Some secrets should stay buried. But some stories ring until someone answers. Case file 001 complete. Next, case file 002. Subscribe to enter the archive.